Hi, Nick here, Lime Green Squid. I feel like I'm going to be doing a few of these videos about how understanding evolution really helps you understand a lot more aspects of life. I'm sure it's pretty obvious to anyone who understands evolution already, but you know, they're just these little things that you think about during the day that you're like, oh, that's why. I got a sort of disturbing one here that I just thought about. It always baffled me why raped women felt so ashamed and often did not want to report what happened. Obviously, there's a sexual, they don't like to be thought of as having had sex. The way that our culture forces women to think that they're not supposed to have sex or not supposed to enjoy sex. So that you can understand that part, which is also rooted in religion. But if you think about it, it's because the ones that tended to be most ashamed about it and most unwilling to report this were probably the ones least beaten to death by their husbands or by society, ancient societies that pretty much declared death and torture for rape victims of the time. It's sort of an unnatural, but since we are also natural animals, a natural selection among ourselves, a way that we selectively chose a certain type of mate. It's disturbing, but it makes sense. If we can reverse that, if we can, well, we don't want to reverse that. We don't want to start killing women who don't want to confess, but encourage more women to be more open, to be able to definitely confess. Because rapists are the obsolete genetics in our DNA. We don't need rape anymore. Well, who knows? I suppose genetically a being may feel like they need rape because they want to procreate themselves in a deep meaning, and sometimes the inner monkey just takes over. It's obviously not something that can be excused, but it does have a cause, a very natural cause. And it's just understanding the natural causes are what are the best way we can combat those negative instincts that we have. We have instincts. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. It's just insane how much you realize about the way we are, the way we think, how uncomplicated we are. We are complicated. We're very complicated, but it's very simple to understand our reasonings if you know the facts about ourselves. Religions tend not to glorify these facts and try to push their own unsupported claims, aka lies, because when you claim something 100% and you know you don't have any evidence behind it, you may call it faith, but anyone with a brain calls it a lie. But yeah, I feel like I've lost my place. Understanding evolution helps you understand life. Helps you understand humanity, human behavior. It's not that tricky. It's all based on what the ones that survived the most had or did more than the ones that did not survive, or did less than those that did. You know, like who had a little bit more smell or a little bit more hunting instinct, whatever. It comes down to natural selection is as simple as our choice, as the animal's choice to procreate with that person, plus the added environmental dangers that could kill the person before they could even think about procreating. Person, being, creature, living entity created of starburst dust. over billions of years. It's just amazing. When you understand this stuff, you understand life, you understand people, you have less reason to hate others for things you don't understand. You do understand why people do the things that they do when you understand the processes of evolution, the reasons why we have certain traits, the reason why we have genetic desires that often override our mental desires, that our mental ones are actually the newer desires. They're the ones that are trying to incorporate on top of our instinctual desires. And in many ways, we do need that, because otherwise we'd be slaughtering and fucking everything that moves. But yeah, so that's, we don't, again, another reason we don't need a god. We have a higher cortex. And I believe that's what it's called. I don't know that much about the wording in brain biology, but but yes, once you understand people, once you understand evolution, you understand people, you understand animals, you understand why people do the things they do. When they do the bad things, you still want them removed from society in some way. And by bad things, that's another thing that we will constantly be fighting over as a human species. As long as there are people proposing something, there will be some people proposing the opposite. So long as ignorance exists, that will always happen. So long as ignorance is preferred by certain groups, and I don't hesitate to say religious groups particularly, then there will always be someone opposing a logical step, a logical idea, or as long as there are people that value ignorance over science, there will be war. There will always be conflict. And as long as there's money, and as long as there's resources too, which is another video I want to get into. Resources and materialism. And how they're not necessarily a bad thing, but they are. How everything from the beginning has always been about resource gathering, if you think about it. Anyway, yeah, so just that thought there, the reason why so many raped women do not want to come forward, one of the reasons, obviously, I think, in my humble opinion, in my hypothesis that I have not tested out. I cannot call it a theory yet because I have not tested it, but from my own logical thinking and what happens, knowing what does happen in this world, the things that do happen in this world that people do to each other for their own selfish gain, rather than considering the wants or needs of the other. The reason why so many raped women probably do not, a big reason why they do not come forward, is because horrible ancient men, religiously supported, perhaps religiously encouraged, would probably beat their women to death, or would stone their rape victims to death, blaming them for being raped, instead of blaming the man for invading her personal self. But that's what religion's all about, invading other people's personal selves. If you don't see anything other than that from religion, you haven't opened your eyes yet. But yeah, that's sort of the sad truth, that so we need to cater to an environment, a social civilization that allows women to speak out. Obviously it's a lot better now, but there are still women who are still scared, and there are people who are still religious, and it's going to be an ongoing process in order to get us all to stop raping in the first place. And with the internet, people laugh at internet dating on the outside, but it sometimes does work. Every once in a while, a person can meet an amazing person. If it lasts or not, who knows? It's an ongoing process. With everything going on, there's no reason to do most of the bad things that people do. there are enough resources in this world, if the crooks at the top would allow some of them out to the people that actually do the work for those crooks, we might actually have a good civilization going here. But again, it's going to be an ongoing process. We're not perfect. We're not created by any perfect being. We are here by ourselves. We have to try to figure out how to best support each other in whatever direction our planet is going towards. I guess that's all I can really say on this right now, without just sounding like a rambling fool. I hope I've said something interesting enough. Leave some comments. What do you think? Thanks.